thank you, all of our friends, fans, and family for joining us today on our journey through gender. What is a gender? How do we gender? I don't know. We're gonna have some fun figuring that all out. Zombie Buddha says they're here for Elliot.
Zombie Buddha, hello,
nice.
hi.
So what they're saying is they don't give a flying friend.
We were trying to
you
keep
are-
swear levels
you
low,
are-
but that's somehow worse.
You are immediately regretting your PG-13 swear limit.
Listen.
Question.
Thank you, though.
I didn't give a cuss. All right, I'm gonna do my
Question.
my ding dang
Do we-
hardest.
Do we each get one F-bomb, or is it like one F-bomb for the stream?
Great
Mm.
question.
Oh man.
I'm gonna give you all. Okay, here I'm gonna hand out your snacks and your little brown bag snacks. All right, each of you
Right.
get one F-bomb, 2 S-bombs, and then another flavorful one of your choice.
Okay.
So-
Yo, sick.
How
Fruity,
spicy? How spicy is heck nowadays?
Oh, we can say heck. That's
Okay.
heckin'
Heck
good.
yeah.
I think
Heck
we
yeah.
can also say hell. Like that's fine. If working for Dwarven Forge taught me
Alright.
anything, we did hellscape, and so like hell,
Yeah.
hellity, hell. More like hello.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you want to hit our Twitch homies with the rationale behind that, like why we're trying to keep it a little
Yes.
more controlled than normal?
Trying to keep this more controlled than normal because we are trying to make this more accessible. I'm gonna put this on YouTube afterwards, and so it'd be cool. If any of your friends who might have wanted to tune in missed it, or you get through this whole panel and you go, "Damn, I wish more people would see that." We want to make it as shareable as possible, and therefore, no question is like too dumb or like inappropriate. Like, we are here to answer these questions for you. We have all volunteered our sweet hours. Normally if you have trans friends, it's not their job to teach you guys about this stuff, but we have all volunteered to come here and teach you guys about this stuff. So we're going to be taking questions throughout. I'm going to be writing down the questions that I see, but yeah, come hang out, invite your friends. We're going to talk about gender, in which case...
I barely know her.
I'm finding more and more often, as nice as it briefly was to be like, job to educate people, at this point I'm like, I think it's more my job to educate people now, because
I
now if
agree.
people are just like, I'm gonna go Google this stuff, it's like you are about to walk into a minefield of misinformation by TERFs and Nazis.
Yeah, it's like-
So
Unfortunate.
Yeah, like go educate yourself. It's like, oh wow, fifthwayfeminism.com says that you're assaulting the bodies of women by stealing them, by using estrogen. It's like, I don't want everyone to do all that self-education, so go ahead and talk to us. I'm okay with that.
Somehow Tumblr taught most of us.
We have Tumblr to thank for being gay. It's
not
really-
me.
No.
I was gay pre-Tumblr.
I was not on Tumblr. I was just doing it for the meme. So,
I turned gay when I went to go drink the orange Ultra Monster, which is the best variety, and I got this dang pink, a liberal
How dare
concoction
you.
instead, and
I
yeah,
know.
pure Alex Jones style. It just changed the chromosomes, and now I'm just gay as can be, and that's where we're at today.
I figured it was gonna be the Mountain Dew Baja Blast that got everybody.
It Baja
that's the
blasted
one
away
that
my
got
gender.
I need that on a shirt now.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my
Careful where you
first
say
piece of
that
merch.
online, a bot will get it.
I lost my gender to Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
Whoa.
Gender, sorry, got Baja blasted.
Okay. So clearly, Baja Blast's gender is chaos, says Jordan. I'm Selena. My pronouns are they, she, and we're gonna have a little bit of a pronoun party. So everyone, we'll start with Elliot. Introduce yourself and your pronouns, please.
Hi, I'm Elliot. I use they, them pronouns, but I also don't mind he. If people are gonna gender me, please call me he. But others don't perceive me.
Pax, how about you? Tell the class who you are.
Nice. So is his pronouns are like just also what I'm about as well?
Give
or,
us
like...
the 2-sentence elevator pitch.
Yeah. Okay. What's up? It is your friend Pax. That is Pax. You can find me on Twitter at Pax Lilin. I am a non-binary individual. He, they, she don't mean a thing to me. Whatever you're feeling when you see me, I'm all good with it. I'm the host of Brotaku's Anime Club, the smash hit podcast that is still beefing with IGN Anime Club. We will take you down one day. I know where you are. You're on the podcast. but otherwise, yeah, I have a major in women's and gender studies in addition to majors in acting and English. And so this, the pedagogical nature of sex and gender is something I'm super excited to talk about. That was like 4 sentences. I'm so sorry. My gender's X.
We have to take those extra 2 sentences away from your future sentences. So you get 1 less curse now.
Your net sentence limit is the same. By the
Chrys.
way, I didn't say when you came on the cameras, but I do love your earrings. Hi, I'm Chrys, aka WytchGirl. My pronouns are she, her, for the most part. And yeah, I do things in Los Angeles, I guess. I stream, I create, I do production work. I sell things for capitalism to pay my bills. And yeah, everything's great.
Yeah. Are we all for hire? Are we all available
Yes.
for freelance projects?
It's
I think
so weird you say that. Tomorrow's my last day of work.
Oh my god, tomorrow's your last day? That
Yeah.
means we can hang out all day Friday?
It means we can hang out most of Friday.
Great.
Yeah.
What's a job? I got laid off recently.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm
This
sorry
is-
/ happy to hear that if you're getting unemployment.
I'm okay with. I'm getting unemployment because they got laid off, and I'm okay with that because that means I have the oyster of the world right now.
As my
So-
partner would say, the world is your sea pistachio.
Yes, exactly. Man, I also feel like I didn't plug anything. Cool. Could I
Go,
do that?
please.
Okay, cool. You can find me on social media at Chaos Elliot if you want to hear me scream about things, and if you want to like watch me stream on occasion, I'm ChaosThem on Twitch, and also if you like TTRPGs, I'm on Gehenna Gaming's channel quite frequently, and we're on our group's hiatus right now for the Dark Ages, but there's a really awesome group that is also playing right now. Then we're gonna come on after and we play vampires and we have fun, and yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I am really glad I plugged most of my stuff into this backup battery because, you know, New York is like the rest of the world, we have a heat wave, and so Con Ed was like, hey, by the way, between 4 and 8 p.m., electricity's gonna get a little awkward. So, and like this light has been like dimming in and out, and it's not a dimming light, which is very exciting. So if we do go dark, blame Con Edison, blame capitalism, blame the grid. All right.
I
Hi,
think
Fox.
it might be the coldest here in Los Angeles out of all of you because it is a chill 78 degrees right now.
Jordan has
right.
reminded us about
Oh.
global warming. And other Jordan, was literally sipping on Baja Blast as we were talking about Baja Blast.
Oh wait, sorry, my mistake. It's 81, which is it's a downright chilly day. I'm wearing a shirt that is conceivably longer sleeved because it's not 110 like it was last.
Wow. Okay, yeah, this light just went out too. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
It's 92 here, which means I'm no longer gender fluid. I'm gender gaseous, just all over the place.
Same.
So, speaking of pronoun parties, what is a good way to ask someone for their pronouns / declare your pronouns without it being a little awkward? Because sometimes when I'm like, hey, what are your pronouns? And we do like a little pronoun exchange, then it's like, okay, next. And so I have some like little phrases that I've been workshopping, but tell me, how do you ask for people's pronouns?
The panel has begun.
The panel has
Hey.
begun.
Hey, what are your pronouns?
Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
I pretty much like, oh hey, by the way, pronouns?
It's one of those things where there's not like an accepted cool lad way of being like, hello, yes, pronouns, please. Oh, thank you. I'm so suave and
Yeah.
thoughtful. I got your pronouns, I gave you mine. It's like a business card exchange for pronouns. There's not really anything like that, so it's just kind of one of those, you jump in
Yeah.
like you're doing a cannonball into some cold water.
And you just kind of make it casual so then it's not weird. Because then you're like, oh, hey, what are your pronouns? Didn't get them. Or I don't want to misgender you or something like that if they look at you weird.
Absolutely. I mean, like the counter thing to that is like, hey, I'm okay. I don't. All right, so I don't mean any. Like, I was wondering. Do you have your do you have pronoun? Like, are you she? Are you what? What do I call you? Like, less good than just like, hey, what's up? What are your pronouns? Chrys made the absolute best point. Mad simple.
Yes, I came up with little rhymes when I asked people for their pronouns. And so when I would go, oh, Pax, what are your pronouns?
All of them.
Oh, cool, I'm she, they. And this conversation is on its way.
Okay, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I also, she, they, how was your day? Or, they, she, now let's party. It's that also
So
lets
listeners,
them know.
If you have the sheer charisma to knock that out, to be like, she, they, now let's partay, like, go ahead, I guess you could do that too. But not everybody is Selena.
Not everyone has
I
the
love
audacity.
that, but I am like, I'll turn it into a dad joke.
Hey,
Like
also
I did
good.
earlier. Gender, I don't know her.
I'd probably do one of your rhymes if I was intoxicated, but
Bingo.
None of good rhymes for gender, unfortunately.
Sorry, I got distracted by this light that is out now. It's
Oh.
I'm gonna die.
are we now in a 1 hour time limit because of your?
I don't know.
Okay.
We're gonna keep going till Con Edison commits a hate crime.
Nice.
Okay. Oh, Globush says hello. I would like one gender, please.
Hi, chat. Hi, gender. Hi, Globush.
Globush, what are your pronouns? Do you have gender or do you have no gender? Do you have a gender? See, this is how you shouldn't ask.
Do you have a gender? I'm just getting off of a bender. Like,
Hey! They never hear.
how's everybody in chat right now? We got a great audience.
Yes. Skimblebelt, who is actually mine and Pax's friend Q, she says, love the way when you have an obviously queer-sounding name, people ask you pronouns over email, too. Yeah, every person with a facial piercing, I do ask them what their pronouns are. These are my rules. Okay, so, since this is a gender panel, do you remember when you first started thinking about gender?
Yup.
Say
me.
more right now.
For me, or sorry,
Elliot,
if
please.
anybody wants to. Okay, cool. For me, funny story. Well, the thing is, like, growing up, like, there's pictures of me, like, literally playing dress up in, like, my dad's clothes, stuff like that. So there have been obvious signs, but for me, it didn't really hit until I saw Adam Lambert.
Was it the 2008 VMAs?
Yes.
Same! I had an awakening that performance.
I'm just like, hold on.
Gonna put a link in the chat for people.
That performance made me go, wait, why do I want to be him, but be with him, but wait, what's happening here? And I was just, the way that I was trying to tell people at that time was like, I don't know, I think I was like a gay man in my past life. I don't know what's going on here, but there's some feelings, and yeah, that was it. That was my awakening too.
That's a great awakening. Pax, how about you? When did gender become a thing for you?
Yeah, I think for me it was more of the like way in which people like weaponize gender to like make like threats or judgments against you. You know what I mean? Like I think I first became like really cognizant of it because I like as a young kid, like my parents were fine that I had like Sailor Moon cards and that I did basically whatever, and I had a speech impediment that made me sound like a little British fancy boy. And you've seen some of those young tapes, Selena. But like
Yeah.
I also throughout like my life have had like mild gynecomastia, so like larger titty meat than other like XY homies, and so like oh my god, like the amount that I would be like made fun of in like school for like having breasts or having like big nipples because like my areolas were like bigger than like normal or things like that. And I should say bigger than average. Like it's just like a little thing, bodies look like mad different, but kids just get really really angry about that. And like same thing with then just like enforcing different roles. Like my father was a like a crack and heroin addict. Homie's been sober 8 years, so shout out Ethan. Still a maniac, but he's not on crack, so we have progress. And same thing when he would get into a rage, he would start weaponizing gender of like, no kid acts like this, you're a failure as a son and things like that. And so I say this with like no bad feelings about it. It is what it is. But I think that it does kind of touch on why people have a little like root element of gender that can either be associated with like trauma or threat. You know what I mean? And above all, expectation and demands that your society makes of you. So that's kind of my response.
Yeah. That's kids. Kids be cruel. Chrys, how about you?
I never really super thought about gender as a thing. There were a couple chafing moments, like as growing up when my parents are just like, "Oh, boys don't do this," and I was just like, "But it's fun, but like I enjoy it. Why do you give a shit that I want to read this book about this girl who doesn't have the fear gene, and also she makes out with a lot of people she shouldn't, like her teacher."
What book is this?
What book is this?
Fearless. It was like one of those like skewing older young adult series that had some stuff in it, including like her stepmom, I think, going for the boy that was going to be the love interest later. It was absolutely wild, unrelated
I'm sorry,
to any
Chrys.
of this.
So the
That's
point of the
bonkers.
person being fearless wasn't I'm going to save the world or like I have immunity to dangerous situations.
No.
I'm
This
gonna,
was just
save the-"
other
It
side
was-
story.
It was, I'm
just
not
other
afraid to
side-
make out with my hot teacher.
No, this is just other side story stuff. The whole plot was that because she didn't have the fear gene, her body
Oh, okay.
also didn't like put as many stoppers on it as it should, so she was kind of like a bit Superman-y-esque of just like, yeah, I can do these things. I might break my own bones, but who cares? And yeah, it was there was a much more action-y oriented plot, but also stuff. Anyways, that wasn't the point. The point was I never really thought about gender until a Kingdom Hearts cosplayer came out that I was a fan of on DeviantArt, made a YouTube video. It's just like, hey, I'm trans. And now that was presented to me, I was like, wait, that's an option? Like, I could just be like, nah, this gender ain't for me, pal.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's how I found out about that. And something clicked. That was my egg breaking moment. And yeah, that was still while I was in the Doomsday cult. So
Chrys was in a doomsday cult.
Yeah,
It's-
by the way,
It's a thing.
hi, I
Oh,
grew up
dang.
in a literal doomsday cult.
Chrys is the most interesting person you'll ever talk to for 5 hours while she's high. So,
It was an hour. It was an hour.
this time.
What?
This time it was an hour.
Chris got very high Sunday. So
Also, I know which cosplay you're talking about, and I loved watching their stuff, and literally everything makes sense now.
mhm. So the first time
Twin Fools is great.
I love Twin Fools so much.
the first time I thought about gender was I was like I think I was like 6. And my cousin and I were a year apart, and so my grandmother babysat both of us all the time. We'd both run around naked like kids do, and then around 6, my grandma was like, "You can't do that anymore because you're a girl." She was like, "You have to cover up your boobs now because they're going to become boobs," and I was like, "What? This is stupid. Why do girls have to be different than boys?" And I think I've always been on this tiny little feminist crusade, but as more and more of that, as I've been reflecting about gender recently, the more I think about it, the more I had those little moments there where it was like oh, actually I don't have to do gender, because I never really fit in with either. And as I say to my partner, I was like, yeah, it's just men, women, if we could make some new genders, that's really cool. I would love to make a new gender. That is my experience with the early days of gender.
If we're going back to earlier for me,
Mhm.
I had a not similar thing, but to a point where I refused to wear a bra until kids were making fun of me. The thing is, I look back, I'm like, I barely had tits and kids were making fun of me at that point. But I'm just I didn't want to do it. I'm like, no, this is girl shit. And then you do the obligatory tri-P standing up thing and you realize, oh shit, this doesn't work. Why isn't this working?
Mhm.
That I think most non-binary or trans folks who do not have the right materials for that go through. It's just oh, why isn't this work? Literally all the signs were there, but Adam Lambert cracked it for some reason.
We have a question from Von Doom Vic, who is my dungeon master in my D&D campaign. He asks, regarding gender expectations, how have your gender identities impacted roles/expectations within relationships? Have the dynamics been more fluid? And so I guess we should assume romantic relationships here, unless, Victor says otherwise.
I would assume.
Yeah.
Well, I guess societal relationships, there is various expectations of genders as well.
He says either. Any relationship.
But in most cases, for me, I've dated other queers, so gender expectations were never super there in the first place.
Yeah, I think for me it changed when I came out / when I realized that I was gay to begin with, because before then, I had my high school boyfriend and I did all the things I thought I was supposed to, and that with that comes gender expectations. But as soon as I came out, it all became different. It just became, I'm gonna do whatever. Elliot or Pax, do you have anything you want to add to that, or
Yeah. My yeah, it's a complicated one for me. That's why I had to think a moment. I've dated the whole scheme of things pretty much, and I've at this point come to a place where I cannot date another cis-het person in my life unless they get it. They have to get it and understand queerness to my... not to my standards, but to the level of you're not going to freak out if I do something that isn't a conventional gender thing, because it's just look, buddy, I got all of the genders and I don't subscribe to typical norms of what I thought that I should do. And a lot of the biggest issues I had was when I was not dating someone who is relatively queer. In any regard, I usually have been dating people who are either pan or bi, or maybe they're non-binary or trans, or anything along that. I feel more comfortable when I'm dating someone who is queer, because when it comes down to even sex, it's just like they see me probably as a girl, and I'm not, and I'm always afraid that that's the case, and I know sometimes it has been. So it's when I started looking more masculine, or like I chopped my hair or something like that, I realized with some people that I dated, the attraction level went down. My sex life tanked, like literally. I start looking more like a boy to a cishet person, and they're not into that. And that's, I've had good experiences. I'm dating someone who's non-binary and pan, so like it's rad. They get me because I am the same. But for me, it's just been like really. I know where if I date another person, I know what I want at this point, because it's gonna take a lot of trust that the other person knows what actually is going on, and they don't just see what the outward looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dating another queer person is huge.
This is it's so weird. So let me bring this up and let's see if it makes any sense, because I'm so grateful that you brought that up, Elliot, because I've had similar feelings about, worried about dating a cishet person who doesn't get it. But at the same time, if somebody like dates me or somebody bangs me, you're not het. Boom, you're not straight anymore. I don't know, because I'm realizing, like that's it. Well, no, it's kind of the thing where like, hey, listen, if you want to keep up like whatever, say delusion, but like if it's your reality that it's like la 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 la, this person is what I think them to be rather than like who I say they are. One, I'm not gonna bang you unless you respect me and understand me. But it's also something where I'm realizing that like fundamentally it would kind of change things, because it's like the wild draw 4 card, I guess, being non-binary and dating, because it's like boom, anything, no matter who you are, gay. You're gay now. But at the same time, I think that and this again, speaking humbly as a 10 out of 10 smoke show baddie, but this is something where it is something where I think on like online dating and things like that, or even in person, it weeds out a lot of it's like a really great filter for people who are not going to be like down with the vibe anyway. You know what I mean? Like if somebody sees that I'm gender fluid or non-binary on like Bumble, and they think, oh my god, that's disgusting, what does that even mean? And then they swipe right, it's like, or left, whatever, the bad swipe, and then they go boom, then it's like good, that helps save me time. And so if anything, I just find that it's introduced me to a bunch of loving, understanding people, and a lot of people that I have dated or slept with or had a relationship with, because I don't know if being polyamorous is a part of my identity, but it's like how it's the form my last couple relationships have taken. And inevitably, when you're in a situation like that and you're sharing this kind of like this gender expectation free like love and patience and kindness with each other, oftentimes the other person kind of starts to have gender questions as well, or starts to develop things like that, or process those things. I've definitely been in situations like that, and so I'm not saying we're out here to convert people, but
we're not saying
I
we're
think
trying to convert people.
Yeah.
I think honestly, it's healthy for cisgender people to have a period where it's just like, am I cis? Because it allows them to deeply examine who they are, how they relate to their own gender, their own role, their own presentation to society, their own body, all that kind of stuff. And if they are cis, awesome, they get to approach gender with intent.
Yeah.
Versus like,
ooh, gender with intent.
yeah.
Yeah. I really like that question, Vic. Thank you.
Yeah. No, there's that one post that's just like, Oh, so you're the only queer person? Oh, you're the only trans person in your friend circle? Not for long. And that's actually what ended up happening. I was the first out of my friend group to be openly like, yo, this is a thing. And this is like 10 years ago. And I don't have many cis friends because a lot of them learned about gender and are like, yo, I think I'm non-binary. I'm like, dude, awesome. Ask me questions if you have any. It's kind of scary, but you're gonna be okay. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
So like,
Geek Droid has a really good comment, which is cis should be an informed choice, not a default that is never considered.
agreed.
So, speaking of all that, I gotta find better. Those words. Transitions, liaison.
Segues.
Yeah, segues. That's the word. See, I'm really good at this. So I think the general public understands transgender as people who choose to be the opposite gender, assuming there's a binary. How do you explain the nuances to why this isn't entirely true?
It's difficult, especially for at the boy. It's a little bit difficult because everyone's journey is different. For instance, I can say with 100% honesty and sincerity, I wasn't always a girl. My gender has been a road trip, and this is the stop I've come to rest in. This is my home state now. And not everybody's like that. Some people do have the I knew from the very moment I had a concept of myself, which was probably like ages 6 to 10, that I wasn't who people thought I was. Some people don't have that. And I think it's important to acknowledge that not everybody has the same starting point. Not everybody relates to their gender like one trans woman might relate to their gender in an entirely different way than I do. And when explaining it to people who aren't to their knowledge or our knowledge, basically when explaining gender stuff, the iteration, or the not the iteration, the not ideology. What's the I word where the metaphor? Maybe I'll just go with metaphor. Idiom. It's just like, it's like if you put on a shirt that doesn't quite fit right. Like you can wear it, but like you'd much rather have one that fits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pax, did you want to say something? You grabbed your microphone, so I wasn't sure. But it sounds like Elliot wants to say something.
No, Paxkin. I talked to him.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think that it's hard to know the direction these questions are asked in, because the choice of choosing to be trans, or I think it's just kind of a fundamental misunderstanding of like what's really going on internally here. I think that what a lot of people who may have some misunderstandings about it would think of it as rebelling against nature, or you're born in the wrong body, or you must experience really intense dysphoria to become transgendered. But I think that the kind of core truth that is motivating a lot of people right now to kind of become or identify as non-binary, or start trying to really vocally join this really amazing, movement and moment in American social history, where we're really starting to question gender expectations and shrug these off, and just seeing, how can we get away from this monolithic structure that's kind of been very oppressive for a long time. It's just that, like, it's a lot to deal with. It is a lot to deal with. And as we are kind of getting to this new wave of I don't want to say this new wave of feminism, but I think coming into third wave feminism and second wave feminism, where granted there was a lot of transphobia involved in those movements, but we would hear things like the divine feminine, and like, hey, respect, the feminine moon goddess and the masculine earth, or vice versa. And, people would phrase these and like, oh, hey, there's divine here. And we would find different ways to describe it. And I think that this is kind of the most beautiful progression of the ideals of like equality that have been fought for the last 10, 20, 30 years, because it's recognizing like regardless what you were identified as birth, everybody's having it really hard. Everybody is subjected to sexual assault and trauma. Everybody is subjected to similar terrible things economically and socially, experiencing relationship abuse, all of these different things. And so I think it's this kind of grand commonality and fluidity where we really get to be our traits more than just what people see. And so it's fighting against a lot here, but I think ultimately your question is, choose what does it mean to like choose to be trans, or is that the right dialectics for it? People are going to have different answers. Chrys was completely right. Some people are going to say I became trans. Some people are going to say I always was, being versus becoming. Some people are going to say, it changes day to day. Every day I wake up, just feel a different vibe. Do I feel like a man, or do I feel like a woman, or do I just feel like trash? A lot of different ways to feel about that. Elliot, I know you were kind of like mulling something over.
Yeah, that last one is typically me. Like, the thing is, like, when it comes to choosing gender, it's just like I never really thought about it. I just did it. Like, sure, I thought I was like a girl because that's what society told me, but like, I had the I'm not like other girls thing, but it wasn't about like, oh, I'm special. It's like, no, literally, I'm there. There is something here, and it wasn't a choice. It was just like literally just what I was and who I became. And for me, gender is daily, like, we'll see, buddy, but I don't think about it much. And when I think about it too much, that's actually when I think I get the most dysphoria sometimes, is because of me thinking, oh, I just look like a boy in makeup right now, and it looks like I don't know what I'm doing. Or sometimes, oh, I'm such a hot girl right now. Oh, yeah. Like, or, ooh, maybe I'm the void. I am the void right now. I'm feeling void vibes right now. I don't know. Like, or sometimes I'm just like, everything. Let's do it. Like, I'm gender fluid. So, like, I think that was probably one of my favorite words to describe gender when everything was coming, more accessible to people. Because I'm just like, okay, cool, because I'm not weird for thinking I'm this, that, or that, and then changing so freaking rapidly. So, I don't think it really is choice over anything.
As a quick thing that I think we should acknowledge here on the panel is that all of our experience with gender, since we are all white Americans, or presumably Americans, is that we are going to be coming from a much different background historically with gender, just because of the whole Eurocentric idea of there's just like there are two genders and that's it, which is not the same experience in a myriad of other cultures, and this overwhelming societal idea that there are only two genders with the more conservative crowd is something that is steeped in a cultural history of racism, oppression, like wiping out indigenous cultures intentionally, all that kind of stuff. Thanks, Catholicism. And
that's a really good point, Chrys.
It is.
Yeah. We're coming at this with a lot of privilege, we should say.
Yeah.
Great flag to bring up. So, as we just talked about, like, gender means something different to all of us, and thus a lot of different folks, and therefore, like, how we interact with the world, specifically strangers. Like, how do you give the bullet points when meeting someone new? Or, as Glowbush just pointed out, like, getting misgendered. Like, how do you handle those conversations without, like, bringing down the vibe or giving a TED Talk?
I don't, which is why I'm not the best person for this question. I'm just going to get my answer out of the way.
That's a really good thing to talk about, too. It's like...
Is it? I work in professional sales, so when I have customers that are just like, yes, sir, no, sir, nice to meet you, sir, Mr. Chrys, sir, and I'm just like, I mean, I'm surprised you're managing to soldier on through this with the cut of my shirt and like the visible but sure, whatever, go for it. I when it comes to things that are far away from where I put my time and where I put myself versus like my day job, which exists to pay my bills, I don't bother with it so much. It might like get to the stressed out point, and I might go to my friends later and be like, "Wah, validate me, call me pretty." But like if it's just strangers I'm operating with in a business sense, I don't do it. If it's in a production sense where these are people that I'm going to be working with in a creative collab team where it is important to have like the air cleared, all that kind of stuff, I'll just be like, "Hey, I'm a Goyle." But it all depends on the situation and the environment.
Honestly, same. For me, like, I'm not gonna say I don't mind. When it comes to work environments, especially if it's more capitalistic, I backburner getting she, her, ma'amed. It's just what it is, because I don't outwardly try to suppress the assets that I have because I can only wear a binder for 6 hours at a time. So if I'm on an 8-hour shift, I'm not going to suffer and put my body through that. But like in work environments, I'll be dead named and I'll have she, her on me unless I'm comfortable with the people I'm working with, that I'm just like, cool. I actually like using this name and this pronoun. That's only happened between a couple coworkers that in my old workplace that I was like cool with, which was like 1, 2 sometimes. And that's about the only time, because otherwise I just feel like I'm imposing and I'm being like, "Hey, guess what? I'm that person that the media warned you about. The awful non-binary person, that shouldn't exist," or whatever the hell they like pushing.
I'm here to trans your genders.
Yes, I'm going to trans all of your genders. So when it comes to work environments, I'm very much like, when it comes to social environments, if it's just passing like, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am," or they do that weird touch thing on your shoulder, or like you're in like public space, I don't make a big stink about it. If I'm around new people that are friends of friends, a couple weeks ago I had this, we were doing a watch party of In the Heights, and they called me she. I'm like, "Oh, they." They're like, "Oh, sorry." I'm like, "Oh, just correct and move on. You're good. Don't call me a girl." And even when it comes to my friends that sometimes slip, a lot of the time I don't say anything because usually they catch it. They're like, "Oh, sorry." I'm like, "Yep, no, it's good. I know, no malice." So it's very much, you put the mask on, you take the mask off. Sometimes it's here, sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Those are great points, especially in a work environment. I want to shout out what Killing My Hero said in chat. Killing My Hero said, "This entire conversation just reminds me that even folks who have only known me using they/them pronouns constantly misgender me, and I haven't figured out a way to deal with this yet." And I hear this all the time with my friends who are either like he/they or she/they, where they say, "Hey, I'm coming out as non-binary. Here are my pronouns," and it's like they will get, great, 300 likes on Instagram, 120 Facebook likes, and 0 people ever using they/them with them, and it's almost getting to the point where like they/them is almost like when someone actually does use it for these homies, like kissing the ring in The Godfather, where it's like, "You honor me by using they/them pronouns on this day." You know what I mean? Like where it's something where it's so out of the norm, it's like a gift. And so I think that for me, especially because I guess so much of my life has been just trying to learn how to not care about really the opinions of others, but also to not really give other people the power to harm me, which is honestly, it might be part of the decision why I am so gender effed and gender ambivalent about these things, because I don't really want people to have the option to misgender me. And so I think that's part of it, where I'm like, listen, whatever you think, I have the blessing of being able to be, confident with who I am in this moment, just because of how my own experience is designed. That's not saying like, oh, well, I am actually confident. Just different people, like it's important to different people in different ways. People experience gender differently. And so for me, it's something where it's like, whatever, especially working in like finance, where I'm like, it's 0% of the time is anybody going to, use he, him pronouns, unfortunately. And yeah, I think that the they them issue is just so hard, especially with your friends who are really well intentioned, because like you get very little respect, you know what I mean? And so both Chrys and Elliot hit it on the head. I'm not going to educate anybody unless they ask me to, and even saying like educate you, but I'm not going to like talk about my experience or about this topic with you unless you ask. But it is something that's difficult, It's going to be difficult for everybody, so yeah.
On the they them thing too, like I only within the past like maybe 4 or 5 months put they he, because I was playing with it. I think I actually might go back to just having they them, because like he is like the thing that's just like, if you, like I said in the beginning, if you're gonna gender me, call me a he, but otherwise I'm just so with gender that I'm just like I'm probably just gonna go back to they them. And that's also the beauty of things, where it's just like people change their pronouns all the time. I had a friend change theirs like within few weeks, like, oh, I'm gonna use these two. Okay, cool. No, I only like this one. Okay, cool. And like, especially when, like Pax said, when you have multiple identifiers in your thing, it's very, very scary sometimes when you're they them, because people are probably just gonna go with whatever the hell you look like, and they're gonna like, that's strangers. They're gonna just be like, oh, well, she blah blah blah, and it's just like, well, you're just disrespecting me. I don't have any time for you online. When it comes to friends, my friends, some of them are just coming out as non-binary, and like I even do like me and the one, we laughed about this. Our chosen names are quite similar-ish to our dead names or our birth names. So, they're only recently out, so sometimes they've been slipping, and they're like, no, dude, I did the same with you, and that it's nothing bad, and we both chose names that are really similar to the names we used before. So, we did this to ourselves, but I know, friend to friend, this isn't, like, anything mean. You're not doing this to disrespect me. And I think as long as your friends and you and your friends have that kind of conversation, that's important, as well as like, if somebody does keep slipping over and over again, misgendering you, that's when I typically would step in. Quite personally, that's when I would actually be like, remember, they, and then they'll be like, oh yeah. And I think that's with friends when I would step in, or if you were to, want to DM them on a different day of in-person contact's kind of scary, be like, hey, remember I used they, them. You've been using she, her a lot. Just remember, please, just try to correct yourself.
That's a great idea.
I'd appreciate it.
Messaging people privately if you don't.
Yeah.
If you don't want to deal with that confrontation in person.
Yeah.
I want to give like a huge shout out to my friend Cass, who is very vigilant with making sure people gender them properly. As soon as anyone slips in a shh, they go, they? they're very quick and they're on it, and I admire them greatly, because that's part of the reason, like, why I'm just like, call me whatever, is just like, because I cannot do that. I do not want to do that. That scares me. Meanwhile, Cass is so and it's, people mock you for saying it, but like, it's so fucking brave. Cass is so brave. And like, and another thing that I think really helps them in their whole process is that their friends are also on that shit too. And so I think if you know that your friend uses goes by a certain pronoun, you hear someone misgender them, maybe you step in and you help do some of that like labor there
100%.
to be like them, and people will get it because you feel a little embarrassed when you misgender someone. You're like, oh shit, but then it's not about you, and you just go, oh, sorry, they.
I've had blowouts happen where people are trying to explain something to me or whatever, and they misgender someone. I'm like, they. And even when the person who's mad at me in whatever the situation is, they've thanked me for correcting that other person. It doesn't matter if they're upset at me about something, and I correct their pronouns. When somebody's yelling at me, I'm just like, look, y'all can be mad at me, but I'm gonna at least still respect your pronouns, even if you guys aren't happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just one of those things that my brain automatically does. Better for other people than myself. Myself, I cannot stand up for myself for my life when it comes to my gender and my pronouns. But other people do it for me, and it's so appreciated, all you lovely people.
Shout out to the allies.
Super quick note here: if ever somebody reminds you of their pronouns or corrects your use of their pronouns, please do not dobby yourself and like slam your hands in the door and be like, I am so, oh my god, I am the worst person, how could I have done this, oh woe is me. Because what that makes the person who's correcting you feel like is it's implying that it's like you just shot them in the stomach. You know what I mean?
Shut the fuck up. This isn't about you.
Yeah, it's just like, calm down, be like, shit, I'll do better, appreciate the reminder.
We have we got some good chat discourse, so I'm gonna come over here to the chat.
Yeah, I like this.
Yes.
Looks like Von Doom Vic had a question.
Yes. Vic says, regarding attitudes and public acceptance, I hang out with nothing but socialists and other queer allies, so my circle is small. Do you feel like your average cable news watching American is more open and receptive to new ways of looking at gender? Being new to them, not new as concepts.
Yeah.
More so now in the recent years versus before? Maybe?
Is that a question or a statement?
Yes and no.
I would say
yes.
I would say it all depends. I find a lot of the time, if it's someone who just had opinions on trans people because they didn't know any themselves, it doesn't really matter what time they're from, though nowadays it is more difficult to have a neutral or starting at the bad end of a baseline but still workable, just because the transgenders has become such a hot topic for conservative pundits, and thanks Chick-fil-A for bankrolling most of the anti-trans bills that are sweeping the US right now. It is the next bastion of conservative. We're going to dunk on this minority population. We're going to get the vaguely progressive people on our side, and we're going to use that to roll back a bunch of other rights.
Guys, don't buy Chick-fil-A. Don't do it.
McDonald's has a Chick-fil-A-esque sandwich now. You have no excuse.
Burger King made a sandwich just like Chick-fil-A, then they tweeted it like, hey, every time you buy this sandwich, we're going to donate to the Human Rights Campaign because hashtag Chick-fil-A. That was my nice. F-bomb. I got it.
There you go. Well. But when it all depends on the person. I find people I'm not related to are more likely to be open to it if they come from a conservative background, because if it is people I am related to, looking at some of my immediate family, because it's me, they are more on the train of, why are you attacking this idea we have? This is, how could you do this to us? That kind of vibe. So yeah, it really just all depends on their experience.
Thank you for doing the words for me, because that's exactly what I was thinking. What I couldn't say. because it's true. It depends on the person. Like with recent media, sometimes it's made it easier for like some parents to kind of like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. The more progressive, open parents, sometimes the media has made it a little bit easier, and more people other than just Caitlyn Jenner are coming out as trans or non-binary. So cool. We have some more celebrities and stuff coming out as well. So I think in a way that helps a bit too. So people can be like, oh yeah, so yeah, you're non-binary like Ruby Rose. Oh, you're non-binary like Yutada Hikaru. Um,
Miley
so-
Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus,
Oh, I didn't know they came out.
yeah,
They came out like 6 years ago.
Oh.
yep, that didn't
It was a while
shock-
ago.
Yeah, that one actually didn't shock me because them and Laura Jane Grace did some cover stuff. I'm like, if Laura Jane Grace is chill with Miley Cyrus, there's
Elliot.
there's probably some queer vibes going on here, maybe some gender vibes.
Elliot
Wait.
Page. Yeah, that's
Elliot Page, yeah.
less a non-binary one.
Let's just list all the all the non-cis people in media. Go.
Wachowski sisters.
Oh
Yes.
my god, the Wachowski sisters is an inspiration to us all.
Amazing. Yeah. So I think like I said, it depends on the person, and also like how Chris said, along with just depends on the right people watching things, but also it can be weaponized against us at the same time.
Mm.
So Pax. What do you
Y'all
think?
make great points. Most of what I said would be redundant. We got a lot of questions to go. So yeah, not
Yeah.
gonna take up any more time. Y'all did great.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think Chris had a good point. Was like, or at least I think Chris, you started to hit on this, is that people don't pay attention until they know someone. So
Yeah.
the more people who come out, the more helpful it is. Back to this chat. Let's see. Killing My Heroes said, I've literally introduced myself using they them pronouns, and they still misgender me. I don't understand that. And Chow Jordan says, this personal anecdote helps at all. I am cis, as are my parents. I was back home recently, and he, being her dad, talked to her about he's trying to be better with pronouns, and he had some questions about non-binary and they-them folk. I answered to the best of my ability, and he was very interested in learning, smiley face. Which I love that. Jordad, yes.
Yes.
Jordan, where's Jordad this evening? I know he follows me.
Chow Jordan's parents are delights, and I have known them since I was a teenager.
Aww.
Killing My Hero says, it also depends on the area. If you live in a progressive city, you will probably be better. I live in a town with at least 8,000 people. This town is a hellscape for queer folks.
You'd think that. You would think it would be better, but also with larger cities, you have the opportunity for more and more people who have less than flattering opinions on gender and queer folk to gather. Stares at the fact that UK is becoming not UK. The New York is becoming turf haven in the States right now, and that's a big ass city.
What? It's turf haven?
Yeah, it's becoming the American London, full of turfs.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the fear that some people have regarding trans people all falls into moral panic. The moral panic culture, I guess. Whenever there's a large moral panic, it always comes down to what about the children? And so like even with the satanic panic, it became like parents afraid to like let their kids go off to college because they might join a satanic cult or whatnot, and so people.
What if they LARP?
What if they LARP?
What if they LARP?
LARP did lead me to Satanism, so. But it's just people because I think there's TikTok trends, the TikTok teens. I think that's what's scaring some of the parents in Middle America that may not know as much, because they're like, oh, I don't understand this and my kid is doing it. What's going on? And I think it also comes down with internet exposure. You know, if you're on, like Pax, you said earlier about, like, you know, if you come out as they, them on the internet, you get all these likes and comments and whatever. And then as soon as you, like, try to correct someone's misgendering, then it's always like, ooh, oops.
Yeah, agreed. You're hitting on kind of a different topic here I mean, did you want to talk about the kind of, like, panic around, like, children turning each other trans?
Yeah, let's talk about it. It flowed naturally.
I mean, like, so if you want to, are you okay if I start off with this?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so this is like a bit of a specialty of mine. I'm actually working on a video essay on the phenomenon. Essentially, it's worth saying for, like, Vic's point that the average American is a much more open-minded person. The average American does have a positive view of socialism and queerness and things like that, but it doesn't matter if you have, you know, 50% transphobic people in your small town, or, you know, 25%, it's still going to feel terrible. You know what I mean? And so it is worth saying that I think we are moving in the right direction, however slowly it may seem. But so there is this phenomenon that's now getting passed around TERFs where they call it rapid onset gender dysphoria. And so this is a term that was coined by a paper by Lisa Littman, which is kind of a bunk study that was done, and then it was really popularized by a again consistently debunked journalist named Abigail Schreier, who went on the Joe Rogan Experience talking about her book, The Transgender Craze, or it's called oh, you know what, the actual title itself is nuts. Transgender Craze Destroying Our Daughters. It's something like that. Yeah, it's called Irreversible Damage, the transgender craze seducing our daughters. And the picture is of, like, a 5-year-old who looks like she has One Punch Man as her gynecologist, just a full hole punched in the middle of her. And so the core of this thesis is, because there isn't enough study on this, here's the thing. I am a scholar of gender. I love this stuff. I love writing papers, reading papers. I love reviewing this stuff. And so people who are in this field, they act like, oh my God, no one wants studies into this. I would love to know the sociological effects of, you know, people coming out on each other. I would love to have well-done studies in with this. But this whole claim that she makes off of this one debunked paper, and why I say debunked is that it's truly on par with, like, the OG vaccine autism research. It was a study exclusively on an exploratory study putting forward the rapid onset gender dysphoria thing that was done on a survey monkey on 4 TERF websites. There's, like, Fourth Wave Feminism Now, the TERFmovement.org. And so Lisa Littman puts forward a survey monkey on 4 anti-trans websites that TERFs congregate to, and read article after article about how trans people are, you know, fake perverted men. They're trying to, like, convince your children to chop off their peepees and vajayjays and get top and bottom surgery and chomp off their butt cheeks and go on testosterone and titty skittles and all this stuff. I don't know if I said any, like, no words in there. I'm sorry if I did. I'm kind of riffing. But
I love titties. I love titties. Skittles, by the way.
Yeah, that's definitely not my turn of phrase, but yeah, absolutely. But so essentially, beyond hell yeah, beyond the study being done on a survey monkey, where there was no verification of is this a real adult or not, you could do it multiple times, and in fact, the author encouraged the people, if they had multiple children they felt were being, you know, brainwashed into being trans, to take it one time for each child that they felt was being brainwashed. No mechanism preventing trolls, no verification of identity. And then the rest of the paper does things like cite responses from a Reddit thread saying, like a really obscure Reddit thread where there was one thing with 2 upvotes that said, like, yeah, you might need to kind of, like, lie to your therapist about your experience. If you feel like they're not validating you, you might need to say that you have dysphoria even if you don't, if you want the treatment that you want. And so crafted this whole theory of rapid onset gender dysphoria, or rapid onset gender dysphoria, yes, solely on the basis of, like, old studies that have shown that things like suicidality and eating disorders in mental health clinics actually can spread socially. And they have kind of unfortunate, like, really great wells of research showing that, like, wow, yeah, people do kind of establish this hierarchy, this type of dysfunctional behavior spreads, and, you know, how do we fight this in mental health clinics? What this doesn't have in common, or any relation to, is gender. And so the whole book is citing, like, well, here are these things about, studies on eating things. And so girls today, instead of cutting themselves, they're turning trans online. And so it's something where it's the book contains, and I'm citing this book because it truly is the foundational text of this argument. And I know I'm talking a lot. I'll wrap it up in a sec. It's the foundational text of this argument, and one thing the book kind of tells on itself with is it has 5 stories about young girls who got turned trans and their relationship with their parents. And every single one of them, none of them ends with the girls detransitioning. And I hate to say girls, but every one of them ends with, yeah, no, this is now a young trans man or a young non-binary individual who did get the treatment they wanted in college and cut off all dialogue with their parents because their parents abused them and yelled at them and were like, what's wrong with you? You're sick, for years. And so ultimately, I gotta believe that most parents are coming at this with a place of love, but I truly feel that trans kids are the number 1 group hurt by this book. And number 2, I gotta say, might be an unpopular opinion, parents. I think that there are a lot of parents who are hurt by this book because it's hard being a parent, going to work all day, healthcare, balancing these things, childcare. You really don't have a lot of hours in the day to educate yourself on some of these topics. And so the thing that I think happens pretty commonly in this situation is, oh, man, I'm scared. I don't want anything to happen to my kid. I love them so much. They're talking about being trans. I don't really understand that. I mentioned that at work. And then one person goes, oh, I had a cousin who read this book. It's actually really good. It's by like a scientist or something, and then gives them irreversible damage. And if you're reading this book and you don't realize that this is basically talking about a study that it does not have any bearing or relationship to reality, based on nothing, written by a conservative maniac who wanted to bomb 3 million more people in the Middle East, just a little fact about Abigail Shrier, then you might genuinely, without having been previously transphobic, been like, oh my gosh, I am really worried. Like, the book throws so many weird arguments at you left and right, and I really do think that there are some good-hearted parents out there that can be convinced by some bad arguments. And so that's why I want to fight against this topic so much. And so for anybody out there who, talks with parents or has someone in their life who's having a kid who's talking about this, leading with love and listening to the kid is just number 1. It could be real easy to lean into fear and try to grasp on harder and to try to go, oh my God, I don't want this kid to be hurt, or what if they have a, cancer from their estrogen, or, whatever. Just like, take a deep breath. I know it's scary, but, lead with love. That might be a corny place to lead it off on, but like, I think that's the main thing when it comes to these trans kids.
As a quick thing, just because TERFs have now come up a few times on this panel, one of the important things to acknowledge right now is that the very popular go-to when like refuting TERFs is like, trans women are women, which is great. Thank you for the love, but a big focus of TERFs as a whole right now is trans men, specifically being like, oh, they are being conditioned early on to like hate their womanhood, and these people are going, and I'm going to actually say TERF arguments, so apologies to misgendering people, theoretically. These poor little girls are being taught and brainwashed to like hate their own womanhood, and just they're going to hurt themselves later, and like, this is the patriarchy at work, and this is misogyny, and this is the culmination of internal misogyny. And there's a lot of younger TERFs who are in the category of like, yeah, I thought it was trans until a bunch of people came and love bombed me and told me that no, that was actually the internal misogyny talking, and in fact hating womanhood is a perfectly natural and regular thing to do. In fact, I should hate being a woman. That's the badge of honor. And yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of TERF focus on
Hachi Machi. Also, by the way, TERF is, who would like to define TERF?
TERF is an acronym meaning Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. There's a lot of stuff going around it, just like TERF is a slur. It's not. It's an acronym, y'all.
It's bad. So Pax talking about the study that the bad study that the bad people did. Something I recently learned because I listened to a podcast called You're Wrong About, and it's one of my favorite things to listen to. Just because I learned about a lot of things I've been wrong about. And one of them is Michael Hobbs makes a point saying, well, not enough people talk about how scientific studies are marketing. Like, many of the scientific studies that have been funded are because a company wants to prove that their thing works. And it might tip the scale a little bit. But, like, Gatorade is in charge for the concept of hydration. Like, when they came up with their drink in the 70s, they were like, we want to prove that this is better than water. And so they purposefully tested the effects of Gatorade versus water for sports activities. And so, like, the Gatorade Institute at, like, FSU or wherever it is, there's an actual Gatorade, like, institute inside of a Florida college that's just dedicated to working on, like, hydration and, like, peak sports performance.
That's awesome.
So we gotta be careful about these studies.
Yeah, well, and that's a really good point. There's things that like escape peer review because, especially when they're on like edge subjects that people may not understand fully, like maybe you're peer reviewing a paper, and and granted, I will say the full paper had to get like rewritten after an initial round of complaints, and it's still up from Lisa Littman, but it has a huge addendum to it, and this is not an anti-science screed at all, but if you read academic journals a lot, what a dork ass phrase I just said, but if any of my other academic journal homies out there, you kind of get you understand that there are good studies, there are really bad studies, that some stuff is evident on its face, and with something like this too, it's not I don't want to sound anti-science here, because an issue here too was that initial Lisa Littman study. Selena, any guess to how many like actual children identifying as like trans that they talk to?
None.
Yeah, zero. Now here's the thing. There's a kind of reason for that, which is that it's difficult to do studies on children. It really is, and it's why oftentimes exploratory studies, which are studies that go to develop a hypothesis rather than develop a potential future hypothesis rather than, hey, this is the hypothesis we've reached. So an exploratory study is saying like, hey, we're exploring all these options, doing these things, and we think that these things might merit further study. Is a vibe we're getting. But with this, it's something where there are definitely really bad exploratory studies, and this is one of them. It never should have passed peer review, and so I no idea. Someone mentioned, rapid onset gender dysphoria. I'm screaming. The thing that I kind of mentioned and again, it's a script I'm still working on, is that what's really happening here is ROAT. It's rapid onset adult transphobia. And it actually does spread socially, because it's one adult who spreads it to all their people who barely hear of it before, and then suddenly when one kid turns trans, it suddenly sets off the red alarms. And so I think that's the real social phenomenon, is rapid onset adult transphobia, my opinion.
Go. I need to take a very, very quick bio break, but you guys, please keep talking.
Transphobia, the real lycanthropy.
Spread it once, spreads to everyone else.
Yeah. Chat, any questions? Anything you want to drop? Drop in chat. Things you need answered. Wet Fox Gaming. I love that name. Also, Jordan, you're always here at these streams. I gotta really shout you out. Really appreciate the support.
Yeah, if you guys aren't like following Chow Jordan, please go follow Jordan. She's a sweetie. She's super kind, and seriously, like, so awesome to watch. So go follow Chow Jordan and
she's pretty, and she has cats, and she does fortune telling on stream.
It's true. Awesome. I usually lurk Jordan.
Partners.
But
hey, Ronnie, what's up?
Do it. Use your Prime on Jordan too if you want. It's worth it. You get cute little witch hats for your subs. I know this was us supposed to be talking about gender and stuff, but this is a love fest for Jordan now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Elliot, while everybody else is, Celine's back. Never mind. The show's back. The show's back on.
Oh, okay. Yep. No, what's up?
We love Chow Jordan. This is a Chow-friendly chat. Jordan, can you host talk shows where it's called Chow Chat?
Oh my god,
You
I
can
love
have that one
that.
for free. I won't take royalties. Okay. Scrolling through this chat. There's a current, Geekdroid22 says, the current court action about teenagers' ability to access puberty blockers here in the UK is also rooted in some ... very dubious studies.
I
Kids
think
who want to block their hormones. What about that?
I
So,
wish I could have. Then I wouldn't have gotten titties.
So, as a quick thing for chat, what puberty blockers are is that they are a medication with a longer history. They come in and they're just like, oh, hello. Most common use, hi, 8-year-old. We see you're getting your period. That's some yikes. We're gonna put you on some puberty blockers for the next 6 years until your body is grown enough to handle being puberty. And then you go off them, and in almost all cases, there are no side effects, and then your body just experiences puberty normally. And
they're more like puberty delayers, you know.
Yeah. Blockers is such a weird word, but when that was made, that was probably what they got.
I mean, it's like beta blockers. It's just like, yeah, taking this for now.
Well, this brings me to another question that I was going to get to, which is talking about transitioning and choosing to go on hormones and whatnot. Would you guys like to talk about your experiences either transitioning or in your considerations to transition? And also, what does it even mean to transition?
Define transitioning for people. Transitioning is the act at which someone does some sort of body modification TM to change how their body looks and or feels to make themselves more comfortable in it and their expression of gender. Transitioning can include anything from going on.
Yeah. Hi. Welcome back, everybody.
Are we back on the internet?
Yep.
Yes. Thank you for bearing with us in our time of technical difficulties. Thank you for bearing with this brave new UI that was not supposed to be used for this. Oh, God.
We figured it out. Thank you guys for sticking around. New York City's experiencing a power shortage, so we knew it would happen at some point. Here we are.
You know, with us knowing it would have happened, I should have prepped this earlier. Oh well. But yeah, hi, welcome back. We were talking about what the fuck is transitioning, I think.
Yes.
So, I'm gonna start that from the very fucking beginning, because I don't remember...
Hell yeah.
I've now used 2 F-bombs. It's my channel, but I will abide by the previous rules.
Last I heard was, we were you said transitioning is any way, like body modification to affirm your gender identity along those lines, and then
Yeah.
my internet, my power said no.
Oh no. But yes, transgender body modding, TM, the cyberpunk future of gender. But yeah, so transitioning is doing some sort of modification, whether it be hormones, whether it be plastic surgery, whether it be top surgery, whether that is for trans mask folk, double mastectomy, and chest reconstruction to get rid of breasts and breast growth, and potentially reconstruct nipple stuff, or for trans femme people to get work done so you have the tatas.
These are all scientific words.
These are all very scientific words. Do not question my scientific prowess. then also goes down to bottom surgery, which is a slightly more private topic that I wish I could just tell people to go Google, but as I said before, telling people to go Google it yourself is now a minefield of misinformation. So bottom surgery is when you have some sort of reconstructive surgery with your genitals to more align with how you feel. Some people who get bottom surgery are incredibly dysphoric about their things. Some people are not. It really is up to the individual person and how they experience their own gender in relation to themselves, and what kind of things they want to go through with their body.
100%, and it's
Yeah.
for I mean, and here's the thing. I think we're mostly speaking to the chorus here, but you know, it's important that to understand that there isn't an endpoint. So if you're talking to even someone who identifies as a trans male or trans a female, it is never appropriate to bring up in the middle of a Ruby Tuesdays, hey, do you have dick? What do you look like? You know, not, well, there's my one bonus swear word, but yeah, not cool. Not cool.
Is dick a swear?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, because the proper term is penis.
It's slang.
Yeah.
I'd say prick is maybe a swear.
I couldn't say it at 13, and I know that much.
Chat's saying that we're a little quiet here. Is there any way to bump it up?
Oh, yeah. Uno momento.
Bump it up.
All right, I have
Bump
jacked desktop audio all the way up to max. How does that sound for everybody? How do I sound? How are my levels?
Yeah, how are we?
We okay? Everybody, do we sound okay?
Wee woo, wee woo.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm quieter than others. What if I bump myself up here?
Hey.
Cool.
Sick, working it out. Gosh,
Oh,
chat
yeah.
has our backs. We're getting carried by chat.
I love chat so much
Yep.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only known chat for 7 minutes, and I love them.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Cool. Does somebody drop some questions in new chat so we have some stuff to scroll through and
I have questions.
oh,
They're
you
on
do
my
have
phone.
chat.
Nice.
No, I have questions in my phone that I did prepare. I was prepared
And
for
now
part of it.
now your face is gone.
Yeah, but you can still hear me, right?
I can still hear you, and we have your
Yeah.
tiny little profile picture from when you had blue hair. And I think that's
Yeah.
Is that from your Beetlejuice costume, or not your Beetlejuice? Junebug? What was your costume that went like viral?
That was Fleabag.
That one.
It's still blue. Hair's still blue. It's just longer in that picture. So my question is, what question/hot takes do you wish you could never hear again?
Never.
Anything regarding what's in my pants or how my sex life works.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that. Even on the sexuality thing, it was quite a trip. When bless her, she's a good human. I've seen her grown so much. But this poor cishet girl in my photography class in high school was just like, if you're into women, how do you have sex? I'm like, how do you have sex with yourself? And then that was before I was out. That was before I was out as genderqueer at that time. I'm just like, and then when I was telling people about my genderqueerness and now gender fluidity, there's always like, so like, how does your sex life work? I'm like, can you not ask about that? Thank you.
I
It's
don't.
so awkward.
That's one of my least favorite things to hear. What, like, just about, like, being just like, regular gay. Just like, before you like throw any transness into it, it's like people like, I just can't, like, I just don't understand how sex would work. And it's like, that's not your thing to worry about. Please stop thinking about me having sex. Thanks. Thank you, pervert.
Yep. It's like, yeah. Especially like when you throw in that. Oh, my favorite is when you're dating a non-binary person and then people are questioning, well, how does that work? Because then they're trying to figure out whose genitals are whose, and you're just like, stop.
I wasn't aware that being non-binary and being in a romantic relationship where sex is involved gave you the ability to like swap basements, and frankly,
God, you know what?
Frankly,
I kind of wish sometimes.
yeah, as someone who has dated multiple trans people in the non-binary space, it's just like, hey, there is apparently a bonus feature to our relationship that we never experimented with, and frankly, tip for you and your next partner.
Yeah, do the genital swap fusion dance from Dragon Ball Z, and get done. I love the idea that it's like a zebra situation, then blending into the herd. Where you're like, oh my god, wait, whose vagina is this? Is this mine? I can't tell. Like it's beautiful big brain stuff. I do want to say in regards to the hot takes, I want to hear way more hot takes and way more like just deranged. Like if you're worried to say something, to me, please say it. Because I would wait. Like I've had a lot of people who are worried about I'm worried this sounds stupid. Or a lot of people who are well intentioned and they know the magnitude of how much they don't know. You know what I mean? And so they're like, I don't know. Is this literally asking like the shape of the earth right now? Like, is it okay to ask this? And I've heard some just nutty stuff. I've heard some really out there things, and I would like to hear more. But I would way rather that you get it out there than keep it inside. Just don't maybe put it on Facebook though, or Twitter. I think if you
posting on Facebook.
I was looking to see if there was going to be any fun little bonus features on any public opinions Alex Jones has had about transgender people. That would be fun to make fun of. But what I instead found was a big controversy from 2018 where after he made a bunch of very transphobic comments, some people spotted some a large amount of a particular trans woman's porn star's content on his phone.
King shit.
Man, I love when that shit comes to light. It's like, oh, you can shame us and say how awful we are, but what's on your phone? God, freaking hypocritical.
I don't care. It's Alex Jones. And by
It's
I don't
true.
care it's Alex Jones, I mean he's like the fucking Aliens History Channel guy, but for conservatives.
You're not wrong.
Buy my vitamin line. It'll stop you from getting COVID and maybe give you mental powers.
Vitamins are a scam. They're a scam. There's no legal regulations around vitamins in the wellness industry because of a lawsuit the FDA lost. So any wellness brand, all you have to do is say something is wellness, and you officially can lie about whatever is in it because no one is checking that. Do not buy from Goop. Goop is a scam. We got scams all over the place. Rite Aid's a scam. Walgreens is a scam. They're all scams.
Yeah, stop getting on us about our hormones and get on the industry about your vitamin D, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Does chat have any questions?
Jordan is pointing out that I have broken the swear jar, so
I did too.
Yes, you smashed the swear jar.
Oops.
Breaking that glass ceiling.
Oops.
Everyone subscribe to WytchGirl for taking over the stream on the drop of a dime. Spend your biddies, celebrate. Let's cheer WytchGirl, and honestly, the rest of these beautiful panelists who have joined us here today. These beautiful, handsome, and just generally attractive panelists. Oh my god! And make sure you go follow their stuff. I had a command in my chat that was !panel. So if you go over to my channel and just type that in, you'll see everyone. It's also on Instagram and Twitter and whatever. And if you tune into my stream tomorrow, you can still select a panel for all that jazz.
Hell yeah. Yeah, if you guys want to send me a quick DM of all of your handles so I can drop this in chat, that would be great.
I just put mine in chat.
Oh yeah, that works too.
Yep. We are in a DM.
I'm at literally Selena everywhere.
Geek Droid, I would be
Wow.
interested in hearing opinions on transgender athletes competing in professional sports. Ooh, spicy one.
More of that.
We're getting into like a 401 topic here.
Spicy one. Welcome to We Are Now Out of as Babby's first gender as we could have tried to make it. Welcome to Gender Grad School. Transgender athletes should be allowed to compete in whatever fucking gender bracket they identify as, because guess what? As a trans woman, I actually have less testosterone in my system than cis women. So, yeah, fun fact about trans women stuff: when you're on testosterone blockers, it blocks more than cis women have.
I love this song.
Chrys
Yeah.
has supplied so many good songs that you guys haven't heard of yet.
Spotify drop
It's-
when?
Ugh, John Jacob, man.
Oh my god, Colin Jacob stopped checking the levels before the stream. Yeah,
I
so
sing.
that's-
I sing a bunch. I used to be backup vocals in a band.
Awesome.
That's a really good point, Chrys, that I didn't know. I didn't know that trans women have less testosterone than cis women. Also, can we stop making sports gendered? God damn.
Oh my god. Okay, so, yes. Did you hear about the she's now 70 years old, the 70-year-old woman who wrote into the Yankees 60 years ago about how she wanted to be their Batgirl, or their, so she could do basically other things like a Batboy does, or Ball Boy, or, whatever that is. And at that time...
Oh,
yeah.
Batgirl.
Yeah.
Like baseball bats.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Sorry, you're talking sports, but we're talking about sports and
No. When you said Yankees, I was just like, I live with a bunch of Europeans, so when I hear Yankees, I don't immediately assume you're talking about the sports team.
Oh, it's okay. My secret is I'm actually a sports fan because I'm from a city of sports.
Fuck yeah. Sports are rad.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's if you're from Buffalo, New York, you breathe sports even if you don't want to. Anyway.
You're for Buffalo! Buffalo in the chat!
This is the three
DJ Khaled!
This is three buffaloes and a cultist.
We love it.
Wait,
We
did
love
did I mess up again? Okay. Heckin'.
You've already
Yeah.
opened the floodgates.
I did maybe open the floodgates by going to my channel. Heckin'. I will swear no longer in this thing.
But anyway, so 60 years ago, when she was like 10 years old, she wrote into the Yankees saying, "Hey, I want to be your Batgirl, for a day. It'd be great to see women in sports, even if it's something like that." And the Yankees wrote back to her and were like, "Well, we would love to have you as our Batgirl one day, but as you see, you women folk are very attractive, and that would distract people. And even if you were to come out for a day, that would distract people." You're talking about a 10-year-old. Anyway, and where and where things were is like blah blah blah, sexism. So her daughter finds, and she kept the response, and her daughter found it recently and wrote in an email to the person who runs the Yankees, and is just like, "Hey, found this letter my mom wrote XYZ, so I'm not asking for can she have a chance at this again, but if you're willing to have this opportunity, would you mind if my mom had this experience finally?" And they allowed it. So she threw her pitch, I think yesterday or the day before, as a 70-year-old woman throwing in the pitch and being a Batgirl for the day for the New York Yankees.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's all.
Yeah. So women in sports, even like that is really freaking cool to see people be like, because the Yankees apologize, they're like, oh my God, that's not our actions. We're so sorry. Regardless, of course, your mom can throw in the first pitch and join us on the field. It was so freaking wholesome. But things like that remind me of like my mom. My mom wanted to be a shortstop for the New York Yankees when she was a kid, and she was so upset when she learned that she can't do that, but she could play softball.
Gender in sports is a loaded topic, not just for trans athletes, but one of the big things that the anti-trans movement right now is harping on to get a rise out of people to grab your pitchforks, grab your tar and feathers. It is mob time. There are people trying to cheat in high school sports.
Yeah.
We've reached the part of the night where we do skits.
Only death can come from this.
Conservative voice. Boys are going to be competing in girls' soccer. They're going to knock down your daughters. They're going to break their knees because these rough boys are just going to be like, I'm going to pick on some girls and just pretend to be a girl, and this is totally how transgender works. Blah, 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 blah.
It's scare tactic stuff. Yeah, it's scare tactic stuff. And it's one of those...
I think what we're saying is we're not professionals on sports.
We're not.
Pax?
So I'm not a professional in sports, but I do want to bring in a different perspective, if I can,
yes.
to kind of broaden it and give some more concrete specifics here. Because Chrys was 1,000% right. Most trans women, by far, have less testosterone comparatively to, we were saying cis women, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was what we were saying. I think I'm using the terms correctly. So, sometimes even I get like, wait, I'm saying this correctly, right? But that said, there are trans women who do not choose to go on hormones. But beyond that, this raises a broader kind of spiritual, significant question about sports. And I see the suggestions about like, why do we even need to have gendered sports at all? And that is a great question. But there is a truth that in our kind of current, sex binary grouping, there is a pretty legitimate bell curve on different type of like muscle growth activity thing, and it's been the most convenient way we found to figure it out. But we're clearly starting to hit up against the deficiencies of this. And so what I want to challenge here is that we're often really obsessed with testosterone. I'm not saying Chrys is at all, but oftentimes you hear like, oh, skyrocketing testosterone levels, these people, God, just huge, mammoth, blah, 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 a bunch of like transphobic slurs. But testosterone is one of 64 active hormones in the human body. And people act as if all there is estrogen and all there is testosterone, and those are the two. It's the hormone binary, the one and two. But nobody ever talks about galanin or cortistatin or these things that like affect the nervous system and processing more broadly, which is why this gets really complicated really quickly. I encourage anybody who wants to read into this topic to read a great book called Testosterone Rex, which talks about the history of medical science and how we have very often in the medical community and even in the gender studies community kind of tried to lump everything into, what testosterone represents, what estrogen represents, when the truth is like way harder to grasp. And so leading forward, where do we go from here? Everybody please look up the case of a woman named Caster Semenya. So Caster Semenya is a cis woman that people have said are intersex just because they feel like she is. But she's somebody who absolutely obliterated on the national stage, international stage, Olympic stage, track and field competitions. Just completely great track and field runner. I'm forgetting her exact spots that she is most active in, but she was banned from all Olympic competition because they found that her system had ridiculously high levels of certain hormones and chemicals that are more traditionally found in men. Now, Castor Semenya, from what everybody can see, does not have like Klinefelter's, is not indeed possessing any, and this is an actual term, hermaphroditic internal organs or characteristics. It's literally just oh, Jesus Christ, fucking Castor Semenya is like way up there. It's like a superhero with this stuff. And so this then hits, bringing it back down to earth about gendered sports, this hits on the topic of why do we have gender in sports, and what's our real problem here? Because why be mad at trans people in sports, and why try to make this, a libs are ruining sports issue, when we could have a way more interesting and in-depth conversation about, like, why do we group sports the way we are? How do we talk about human fairness and performance and the way that things balance? You know what I mean? I'm not sure that it is realistic short-term to have a shift where we say, like, great, we'll test people like weight class wise by getting a full potential chemical profile of them. Maybe when we're 400 years in the future and that shit could be done on the iPhone 47 and we figured some stuff out, maybe. But for now, we're just gonna go in phrenology, genocide route with that. We don't want that technology.
As a quick thing with this sports, I failed to bring it up earlier. It does also fall under another section where we're not going to be entirely equipped to talk about this, because a lot of this fitting gender expectations within sports takes on a distinctly racist overtone near constantly, and a near this is what a woman is supposed to look like, and if you don't look like this, you are suspected of being a man, all this kind of bullshit. Like, there are, like, Western expectations and beauty standards, like a lot of physical characteristics that are just like, this is mannish, and it's like, it's more and more, it's just like, okay, so you're saying that, like, if you're not a petite white woman in sports, you're going to suspect them of lying about some facet of their identity to cheat or get ahead. So, and very suddenly, any athlete of color didn't actually earn their spot. They're really just cheating. And that is a big overtone with a lot of these conversations, unfortunately.
Thank you for bringing it up, Chrys. You're so right.
Yeah.
Such a brilliant parallel, especially because if you look up Chuck Cooper and Earl Lloyd, the first two men ever drafted into the NBA, check out, the first two black men ever drafted into the NBA who then got to play. Check out the, race discourse around it, because it was exactly the same thing that they're now saying with trans people, where it was, oh, well, black people are just naturally more brutal and tall, and their musculature is built for the fields, and they can't take the basketball court. It's cheating. They're not real people. And so you might say, oh, but transgender, this conversation's different. But you got to ask yourself in your heart, why is this different? Why is this fully different when we're talking about who of what gender gets to participate in the sport, and kind of examine a little more deeply here, because Chrys is 100% right that the same kind of pseudo-biological arguments for people who have no idea what the I'm going to use mine now. No idea what the fuck they're talking about, or are just spewing nonsense about biology and sports chemistry, and in a way where they have nothing to go with. It's all xenophobia, all race baiting, all anti-trans discourse. That's my 47 cents on that. I'm talking forever. Thanks for your patience, y'all.
I already used my F-bomb, but heck, the Catholic Church and white supremacy and Eurocentric stuff, that's colonized a bunch of things.
Yeah, I was on that note too. It's just a lot of studies too are, that were done back in the 40s. We all know who some of those people definitely were that were doing some of those studies. We all know it. And I think that's a very important note to hit when it comes to sports and even gender issues and things like that with trans people on top of that, because of the other awful things that have been done and what people like to weaponize and use against us. And it all stems from a lot of racism, and it's bullshit. That's my word.
Why don't you say who you were talking about, just assuming people haven't heard before?
Nazis. Absolutely Nazis and white supremacists and people who are of that persuasion of awful, pretty much at this point.
And it's also worth noting that Planned Parenthood also did some bad things in its early days, and there's the Tuskegee, the Tuskegee Institute, the Tuskegee experiment. Like there's the history of a bunch of white people in power using black people to experiment on for scientific research, and that's led to a lot of medical mistrust that is still valid to this day, and that's not necessarily what we're talking about, but that's something we should always take in consideration.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Especially because Planned Parenthood is very helpful, especially to trans folks. At least that's what I heard. If anything's changed, whatever. But when people criticize Planned Parenthood for its evil past, it's like, oh yeah, it was evil.
Yeah,
twas evil.
Eat fruits.
We got any
Are there,
other questions in this chat? Scrolling.
What resources, Pax, I know you've listed a ton of books and things that people can look up. What are some resources that helped you guys on your journey with gender? Other than Tumblr. Although online communities are valid to ask these questions. Facebook is a cesspool and it's toxic. However, I've received wonderful advice and community through Facebook communities and groups.
Yeah. Honestly, for me figuring a lot of that out, while Tumblr was a lot of it, because I had a friend who had a partner, and asking, hey, are they your boyfriend or girlfriend? I'm confused on things because I'm confused on things with myself. And they're like, oh, they're genderqueer. And then I learned about genderqueer. I'm like, oh my god, that's me. So, that was baby's first resources, but a lot of the times, I just, try to look at verifiable sources that are trans and queer friendly in general if people do have issues, because again, just Google it is very not good. But any sources that I know of that I can send to some people, or any YouTube videos of people who I know who talk about certain topics and stuff like that in today's culture, a lot of that is people just don't know where to look because there's so much of it. So when people have questions or whatever, they either ask me directly on my experiences and I explain in what I've gone, and I'm just like, this isn't everybody, but this is just what with me. A lot of it is just personal experience, and then Googling when the right sources and knowing the right sources for pro LGBT stuff. And that's my simple truth of that. But I know there's probably much better avenues.
Good sources are really hard to come by in this era of misinformation. So I just had the thought, since I'm going to be uploading the video of this to YouTube after it's complete, Chrys, I'll have you export yours and send it to me, and I'll cut it together. And I think if y'all want to put together lists with links or book titles, I'm happy to put that into the description of the video when it goes up, probably tomorrow. But Pax, Chrys, would you like to talk more about resources that helped you on your journey / help you today?
Chrys, do you have any right now?
Resources, no. There was a smutty gender bender comic that I was just like, why do I relate to this so hard? And yeah, there we go. I have difficulty when it comes to nonfiction academic books, etc. When it comes to academia or that area of content, I more easily consume it through video essays and the like. But when I was doing this, there wasn't a whole lot of that on YouTube, so I don't actually have many concrete resources. I basically just key face mashed myself against my own ideas of gender until something fit.
I like that.
Just rolled my face over the keyboard of gender.
I love that.
That's a relatable thing.
100%. There's nothing wrong with like following like r/transgender circle jerk and r/trans and getting all like the fun stuff from there and hearing that discourse like that. That's a necessary part of things for sure. But I do encourage people who. I think a rule of thumb would be, it's fine to get a lot of information from like TikTok, Reddit, and Twitter, but I would really encourage you as a rule of thumb, like if that's all you want to get information from, try not to then share that information or voice that willy-nilly when a lot of it is very contended. Is what I'll say. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm not gonna. That doesn't make sense.
Subjective?
Like, I'm not saying don't talk about it. Yeah, it's hard. I don't want to police anybody's speech here, but I just really do caution people because I guess I'm someone who believes that like when a story is false, even if it like really fits our like narrative or it's kind of like what we want to believe, I still would rather not put that story or that information or a study out. I guess I would like to win on the things that are kind of backed up, but there's also way more good than bad discourse going on with a lot of great YouTube vloggers and people on TikTok and people on Reddit and Twitter. So I guess what I will say is a great cheat for this are two amazing video essayists on YouTube. This isn't going to be news to anybody, but PhilosophyTube and ContraPoints, Natalie Wynn. They each, there will be discourse and controversy about either of them, but they're really whip smart scholars. And so the easiest cheat is like, hey, if there's a video you really like, check out the freaking footnotes, check out the bibliography that they have, because if you want to know what the people you look up to so much are reading, if you really admire them that much, go read what they read. Watch what they watch. Figure out how they're keeping their finger on the pulse, and you can do that too. Authors I recommend are Jennifer Boyland and Julia Serrano. There's a lot of great people out there. Janet Mock has a great biography or autobiography that's really good. But yeah, I think hacking that bibliography, checking out those great YouTube videos, and you'll be on your journey. I mean, there's probably like a million reading lists out there, so I don't need to give a million suggestions because you could Google it. It's out there.
Yeah, I'll second both Abigail Thorne, aka Philosophy YouTube, and Natalie Wynn, aka ContraPoints. PhilosophyTube, she has stated there's not going to be a whole lot of videos talking about trans stuff specifically unless it is a like greater part of a script she's interested in. But Natalie ContraPoints does talk about gender stuff very, very constantly. So yeah, both are great.
Those are very, very good ones.
Hell yeah. Any more chat questions? My phone is on 15%, and I think that's a good cue to start wrapping up as I proceed to have no power whatsoever in my house.
Oh, no.
Ah, jeez.
My partner lives close. Hopefully she has power.
Chat. Questions.
No pressure.
Questions,
no pressure.
If you please.
And either way, if you don't have anything, huge shout out to y'all for like sticking with us tonight, being active and being engaged. It's been a lot of fun with y'all and seeing what's going on and hearing your stories. It's like a huge honor. So thank you so much for sharing tonight, y'all.
Yeah,
I have a question
with us.
The chat, what video game should the four of us play? Because I think we all gotta stream some more.
Yes, please. I love playing games with others. It actually gets me to stream.
Von Doom Vic.
Yes.
Von Doom Vic says, "Did you do anything fun during Pride?" Which is a fun last question, I think.
This is my Pride thing.
Oh, yay!
And that's not even just gassing up, but no, this is like the biggest Pride thing that I've really done because most of June I've just been trying to survive. My life has been nuts. So I'm glad to have this chat with everyone here.
I went on a date
Chrys?
with somebody at a video game studio that shall not be named, and it was fun. And we have another date, and that's what I've done. That was fun. I haven't gone to any Pride events because all the Pride events I want to go to are during days I have corporate jobs, so kill me.
Pax?
Nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing. I've been, this is my last month of work, so between that, the podcast, I've been working like, there are multiple days a week where I work like 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. Hasn't been great, but tomorrow is my last day at my day job, and then it's full online content creation game. So shout out Selena, because I know that you got a lot of amazing things going on as well in that regard. But so yeah, I made sure that a super gay person took care of themselves this Pride and made steps to live a healthier and happier future. So I saved a life this month. I saved a queer life this month.
I know what I did.
What's up?
I gave one of my friends.
What did you do, Elliot?
I gave one of my friends 2 of my old binders that don't fit, and I literally made their entire life. And they're like, I'm crying so much. Thank you. I'm just like, I hate that I'm making you cry, but at least it's a happy cry.
So it sounds like we're a team of superheroes. We're the Justice Queers, and we're gonna save the world one gay bee at a time. For Pride, my birthday was Friday. My birthday was Friday, so I went to see a show with all my friends. And then we all hung out, and everyone told me how amazing I looked. And I think that's, big support. Lots of allies there, a lot of allies here. Then I went to the Dyke March on Saturday with my partner. And then Sunday, I think the greatest act of Pride is I didn't do shit. Because I finished my job on Thursday, and so Sunday was like, time to do nothing.
I love that. Also, I have a game suggestion.
Yes.
Monster Prom.
Yeah, we gotta play Monster Prom. Oh, that game will never end.
It's 4-player.
This is true.
We're at it. We're gonna do a big old Monster Prom. Cool. Any last chat questions?
And Monster Camp, yes.
Yes. Cool. On this case, thanks everyone. We've already said all the thank yous, so I'm not gonna say them again. I said it once and I will not repeat myself. But I'll be posting this on YouTube, so stay tuned on the socials. Follow everyone here on wherever you'd like. And thanks for tuning in.
Real quick. Let's plug real quick.
Plugs.
Find me on Twitter at ChaosElliot, or if you want to find me on Twitch, I'm ChaosThem, and then I have a ChaosThem Twitter as well. Yeah.
Pax.
Find me on Twitter at PaxLillin, PaxLillin. It just makes me feel really good and helps my serotonin when I see that number go up by 1. It just, I like that. So, help me out. But otherwise, if any of you are into anime, online culture, just absolute vocal degeneracy, check out Brotaku's Anime Club. We are in the top 5% of podcasts worldwide now, baby. We're so happy to announce that. We have on upcoming episodes with Thomas Lockley, famed Japanese historian who wrote the book on Yasuke, the first Black Samurai. That interview is dropping in a couple weeks. Interview with David Dave coming up, a voice actor roundtable. And we're having Princess Weeks on in a few weeks to talk Sailor Moon, baby. Also an interview with the creator of Doki Doki Literature Club. So I'm going to keep pumping out that fire content for you into Content Trough. And so get at it. Brotaku's Anime Club on YouTube as well. All the podcasting apps. Million years. Love y'all.
Yeah. Chrys?
You guys are currently viewing this on my channel, WytchGirl on Twitch. So you are here. Feel free to drop a follow and or subscribe. You can also find me at Chrys_Sterling. That is at CHRYS _Sterling at Twitter. Because, I also tweet sometimes. Skimble has told me to stretch with points. Oh, okay.
Yeah, all hunched up like a gremlin. And I'm Selena, literally.
Thank you, Skimble.
I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays reading books, and then starting Monday I'm gonna be streaming that I hope Pax can frequent, a stream called Bad Vibes, and I play really frustrating games and complain, and I invite you to come and join me in complaining, and then afterwards we'll play a really soothing game and then talk about things that make life worth living. So that'll be Monday afternoons and Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm also a freelance video editor. I just quit my job. Hire me. You can see my work at literallyselena.com. That's it.
Geek Droid, thank
So
you for
thank-
not jump scaring me on this panel because I didn't turn that button off when setting this up. So you're a dear.
Geek Droid is great.
And huge thank
Yes.
you to Selena for putting this together and for hosting this. This is amazing. This was such a fun
Seriously.
time. And such an honor to meet you two, Elliot and Chrys. Such a great, this was awesome. This was awesome.
Let's do
I
some
love it
more
when my
again.
friends get to meet.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right. Have
Good
great nights.
time.
Everyone drink a lot of water, and yeah, take care of yourselves in these bad heat days.
Yep.
The bad heat days. That's what they call them.
So yeah,
Yeah.
everybody have a great rest of your evening. Check out all these lovely people.
Absolutely. Night, y'all.
Bye.